Now that the radio's out, we're gonna move on to getting the rest of the car apart, pulling the side panels off, and getting that amplifier out. First thing you wanna do is disconnect the amplifier from the battery. Looking at what they did the zip tie onto the handle of the battery, which will make servicing this wonderful. I'm not a big fan of this style fuse holder, mainly because this top will pop off. It's a good idea to use zip ties to hold it in place. The only bad thing is what they've used them to mount the fuse holder to this bracket. The guy comes to change the battery, he's gonna cut these two. The fuse holder is then gonna just flop around. This top is gonna fall off, and these bolts will more than likely tap into the car somewhere, like this nice big ground bolt right here, and then pow, bang, whiz, snap. If it hits on this one, you're golden. If it hits on this one, well, it's gonna burn that whole wire going to the battery. So if you are gonna be using these style fuse holders that where the top pops off, make sure it's firmly mounted somewhere other than here.
Now that we're done with the radio, I'm going to move to the speakers. The first thing we're gonna do is find the screws. This is a 6mm in the bottom. I don't remember if it's actually the factory. It looks like the speaker, but you grab a pick tool. And then in the handle also, carefully just pry it out. And that's 2 8mm. Then from there, you just pull it up. This one has 2 clips, so you don't have to take the whole cable out. In the corner, you just push it down. Your switchers, pry it from the bottom. It's easy to take it out like that.
The factory speaker is the 5x7, this football shaped thing. It's smaller than a 6x9, and the idea is that it's gonna give you a little bit more bass than a 6.5, because you're getting a little bit more cone area. A lot of people ask, can I put a 6x9 in this location? And the answer is the new one, yes, the old one, no. And the main reason for that is the depth of the speaker. It's not that deep. It's at the same depth as a standard 6.5. And as you can see here, you know, using my finger, we don't have a lot of room. We have a little bit more if we go to the glass, but not a lot of room. Even if you cut this, fitting that 6x9 in, it's gonna be tough. For us in this install, we're gonna be using the T2 6.5. We're gonna have to make a bracket that takes us from that 5x7 up to this much bigger 6.5. It's wider than the 5x7 because it's 5x7. The depth on this is about the same as the 5x7. We should be good there. The other thing to think about too is coming out of the door. This looks like about 5/8 of an inch before it gets to this piece of foam. We can't come out of the door all that much, and that's the other reason why going to a 6x9 is hard to do. One other thing that we run into on these is the back side of the door. When you mount that 6.5 in, you want to pop this grill off and make sure that this hole is open enough for that 6.5. You may have to come in here and cut a little bit of this for the new speaker. To make our adapters, we're going to take both speakers and we're going to scan them into the computer. And then the plan is to take both pictures and lay them on top of one another and make the shape that mimics this with this in the background. So once we've loaded them into the computer, we'll launch our software and start the process of making all that work. Once all that work is done, press the button and it'll take off and do its thing. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew. Let's take it over to the bench and see how she looks. Finished product. Drop our speaker into place. All our screw holes line up. It fits nice and tight in the back. Good size, everything's nice. We can take it over the door and make sure it fits on the door and all the screw holes line up. Here, fit that on there for me. Got screw holes? Mm-hmm. All right. Now cut this again in acrylic, and then we'll take it over and we'll cut it out of 1/2 inch. The reason why we want to do it out of 1/2 inch is we want to be able to countersink these factory screw holes here in. That way we have a flat surface for this to attach our speaker to. 1/8 inch piece of acrylic is set and cut. We have 2 pieces of 1/2 inch Centra. We're going to transfer this onto here using our spiral cut router bit. The first thing we need to do is use some template tape, which is double-sided tape that we get from Mobile Solutions. Put them onto both pieces. To start with cutting out the big hole in the center first. Drill a 1/2 inch hole through this so the router bit can easily pass through. I don't want to pull this off yet because I need to use these to drill my holes. I'm going to take it over to the workbench, fill in all these holes, and get this bracket over to Fernando so he can finish the install.
Now that we have the speaker adapter done, we're going to go and screw it in. For the testing purposes of the speaker, we're gonna remove the handle so we don't have to go back and forth, put it back in. We're gonna grab the door panel and test fit it. Alright, so you can see right now, the speaker is actually hitting the door panel. What I wanna cut is this part right here, here, and the bottom side. Now we have a clear speaker, nothing is hitting. Let's go back and put everything back together. All right, this door is done. Let's go move to another one.
Now onto the backup camera real quick. When we took the radio out of the dash, we saw the cut wires there and that strange blue wire. Fernando's just done some investigation because he's over here working with the speaker. And we found this silver thing right here, which is connected to a module that looks like a backup camera. Further investigation, we found this guy right here. This is the backup camera. Apparently the factory one died and they replaced it with an aftermarket. We have a bundle right here that's all zip tied up. That means we're not gonna be integrating into the factory backup camera. We'll simply be plugging in an aftermarket backup camera, which makes things surprisingly easier for us. Fernando called me over. He's got the amplifier out. He wanted to show me this though. So here's your Tessa tape. They covered all of about 3 inches of Tessa tape. So you saw it when it was in there and you're like, oh, well, maybe there is some redeeming value in it. Nope, why even bother? And this, of course, is CCA, which is fine for this amplifier. I'm not gonna say it's not. This is something else we're having to kind of deal with. They have these illuminated entryway and it's pretty bad. He's trying to clean that up as much as possible. One of the things you guys asked us to do a video on that we haven't done, and I'm sorry, is grounding an amplifier. After seeing this, I really need to put some effort into getting it done. Check this out. What in the... They scratched the paint with a screwdriver, which is cool. I mean, it's at least... No, it's not. Is there a ring terminal?
It has a ring terminal to lug washers, but it's just...
That's sexy. Yeah, go ahead, let's pull it apart. So what is that screw doing? Oh, wait, is that even touching, like...
It's not touching nothing.
That's not touching anything. Why was that even there?
Oh, this one, they just kind of like that. That's it.
I wonder if one screw was stripped maybe, and either way, it didn't work out too well for them. When we run into a situation like this, what we like to do is just kind of clean the area up, and then we put some roadkill on the top, and if we can, also we'll put it on the bottom to prevent any more rusting from happening. And then of course, we'll make our own ground where it needs to be.